I remember where I was about 10 months ago. I thought my life was over. Like, I thought there was no way I could ever get back to like a place like I am today. And I had tried everything. That is, it sounds to say, your life can't get any worse. If you're on this call right now, part of you believes that you can do it because you wouldn't watch 45 minutes of a call with two random strangers on YouTube. You didn't believe that you could potentially recover.
How's it going, Thrivers? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, we have Vincent, who is 25 years old now, but he was dealing with CFS symptoms for most of his life. And actually, the symptoms he was dealing with was a lot of brain fog, memory problems, low energy, body aches and pains, insomnia, anxiety was really intense as well, among a host of other things. But today, he is getting his life back. He's able to function like a regular person from not being able to walk 20 feet about a year ago. I mean, he could, but it was very, very difficult. But now he's going on multiple hour walks whenever he feels like it. It's independent now. And Vincent, why don't you quickly introduce yourself to everybody on here?
Hi, my name is Vincent. I've been in the program for about 10 months now. When I joined, I was 24, had a birthday, and that was right about when everything changed. When I started seeing major recovery in the first 4 to 5 months of the program.
Yeah. So let's rewind the clock a little bit here. We were talking before, and you said you felt like these symptoms started around when you were 8 years old or something like that. It's probably hard to pinpoint, but what was it like growing up with these symptoms and limitations you were dealing with? Like, were they pretty noticeable throughout your childhood or upcoming years?
I always knew something was off. Like I was just a little bit slower than everybody else. I had trouble reading and writing and just thinking clearly. I knew I had the information, I just couldn't pull it out of my brain, if that makes sense.
Got it. So, like, focusing in class was pretty difficult.
Yeah, it was pretty tough for a couple of years, especially in the beginning. Then I just kind of accepted it for what it was, and I just lived life like that until it started to really get bad, and then I realized something was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sounds like it started with some cognitive symptoms. When did it start becoming physical, like the low energy and the body aches and pains?
What about 19 or 20? It started becoming physical.
Got it. Was there anything that triggered that? Do you remember?
Nothing in particular that I can remember. I just think I had a lot of mental symptoms in like 15, 16, 17, and I was trying to like outwork them because I couldn't like stop them. I couldn't like because I couldn't therapize myself enough to stop the symptoms. So I would I'd be working nonstop to try to like just turn them off. And then I think I started to overexert myself, and then I started drinking caffeine to like catch up, and that's like when I think the physical symptoms actually started.
That sounds really similar to my journey. I tried to outwork the fatigue and outwork
Mhm.
the insomnia, which, I mean, that's so backwards. You can't outwork insomnia. But then I started relying on caffeine and energy drinks and things like that. And then it's like you're just digging your body into a deeper and deeper hole. So when did it get pretty bad for you where it really started to put a hold on life? Was that around 20 or 21 years old?
Around the end of 2020, yeah, end of 20, in December of 2020, I was drinking so much energy drinks, and I would have an 8 hour shift, and I would drink one like every 2 hours. And then on my lunch break, I would drink like two. And in the beginning of my shift, I would drink one. And I was just nonstop, just like pounding them, like the 5 hour energy shots. I was just pounding them
Oh
all day
my
long.
goodness.
Yeah, I couldn't get through my like shift. And I ended up getting a promotion. And I couldn't remember any of the information from that they were teaching me in training on the new promotion I got. So I only knew my old job. I didn't know my new job. And I was constantly trying to like, figure it out. But I ended up quitting that job. And that's when everything kind of hit the fan. About
I
that
see.
point.
Yeah. And what kind of symptoms were you experiencing then when you had to quit that job?
I was just really, really tired all the time unless I drank caffeine. And even then, if I had to drink like such a large amount of caffeine to even get to the point where I was able to physically like walk around, I was having like major periods of time when I was just super tired, where I just sleep for like a week or so. What we refer to as APs, but like I would just sleep for like a week or like 2 weeks or whatever, and then I'd have energy. But then I would just do a bunch of things in that because I thought I was like dying or something. So I thought I had to just do a bunch of things to make sure I was able to live or whatever. So that was kind of the mode I lived in, sleeping for 2 weeks and then doing a bunch of things for like 3 days and then sleeping for 2 weeks. And that kind of went on for like 5 years or so.
Hmm. Very, very similar to my journey because it's like I would push and work. I had like a 12-hour shift at the gym. And
Mm.
then after that, I'd go home and study more and do some work. And then the next day, completely out, just in bed all day. And it feels like you're just in hibernation mode. So it's this extreme, like we talk about black and white thinking inside the
Mm.
recovery system. Now it's like the ultimate extreme. It sounds like you were doing that. It's like work really hard for a week or two and then completely slam on the brakes for a week or something, hibernation mode, an all out hibernation mode. So yeah, it makes sense that your body started breaking down. Now, what really what really made you stop working? Like what was going through your mind mentally and emotionally during all of this that made you say like, okay, this is getting pretty serious. I can't just push through this anymore.
When I first started working, I it was basically the mental symptoms. Was the fatigue, but it was also that I could see myself like almost like I was losing myself. Because like over the years, like I saw myself getting worse, and I was like, why am I like almost like getting dumber? I thought like, why am I like getting smarter? And then all of a sudden, it's just like going down. And I'm like, I'm making mistakes that like I don't make mistakes that like not from a perfectionist point of view, but from like just like why am I putting my phone in the fridge? Like just weird things that I'm like doing. I'm like, this is not stuff that I should be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Totally. There's like a cognitive decline. That's what I felt too. I felt like I was just way more sloppy. Even though I
Mm.
was like trying really hard, it's like my brain would just forget these things. I guess now we know it was just trying to survive. It wasn't trying to do all these little things. So during this time, were you going to the doctors or trying to figure out what was causing this? I mean, looking back, it's obvious what was causing it, energy drinks and pushing yourself. But did you see any doctors for this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I saw like in the beginning I didn't, but years went on and I ended up moving to California for 2 years, and that's really where it started going downhill. After I tried working various jobs that I kept having to either quit or get like fired from, basically. After working for like a week or two, I'd have to quit the job because I would have a major crash. And that's about the time I started seeing different doctors for like from everything from like neurological symptoms. I saw therapists. I saw a life coach. I did all the sleep studies and all that kind of stuff to kind of figure out what was like wrong, but nothing would ever show up as a possibility.
Hmm. Hmm. Did they ever say slow down on the energy drinks?
Oh, I mean, I didn't say that. I left that part
You
out. I assumed it wasn't the healthiest thing to do, you know? Like,
know what's interesting? I told the doctors I stopped drinking energy drinks the first time I went to the hospital, but this stuff went on for like 3 or 4 years. So during that time, I was like, well, I'm off all the energy drinks now because I
mm,
completely cut it a cold turkey, but the symptoms were still there. But I remember initially they were like, yeah, it's probably the energy drinks causing this. But even after I stopped, the symptoms still stuck around and actually got worse and worse. So yeah, the doctors couldn't really figure out what was going on. In terms of solutions they offer, did they really say anything about it, or they just said just get some rest and you'll be fine?
it was a lot of just you have anxiety, you should rest, you should almost like they wanted to say, "Don't be so lazy," but they weren't gonna say that, so they were just said it in creative ways of like, "Oh, it's just your generation, like you kids just want the easy way," or like I know at one point I wanted to get Social Security, and I got like the whole speech about your generation just wants the easier way out, and the whole time I'm getting this speech, I'm thinking, I'm like, I worked so hard up to this point, like why would I want to just stop and lay in
Yeah,
my room for the
exactly.
rest of my life?
Exactly. So it is backwards. Like
Yeah.
I think that's the tricky thing with all of this. It's like people who get CFS, a lot of them, we
Mhm.
work really hard. We almost work too hard. That's the whole reason we got sick in the first place. So, it's hard for us to take days off anyways to
Yeah.
begin with. So when you're forced to take days off and spend a week in the room, it's not like we're just chilling out and enjoying ourselves. That is
Mhm.
painful to do because, well, physically you're super tired, but even mentally, we're the kind of people who want to keep our mind busy. The last thing we want to do is sit around and do nothing, right? So when did you come across the CFS recovery videos and the concepts that we share online?
After I tried like everything possible, it ended up being one of the last things I found. I was actually taking tests on like food sensitivities and like my blood different blood tests and everything, and then that was obviously negative. So then I went to I someone had said you have CFS or something somebody said either someone said it or I watched a video and somebody said it. It wasn't one of your videos, but I just remember typing CFS in on YouTube and then your videos popped up. And then I was like, oh my God, this guy gets it. Like he knows what I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. Like that's kind of what started to like come to me. But
Yeah. And what made you pull the trigger to get started working with our team and, working? I know you've been working closely with Coach Krista.
mm.
What made you pull the trigger on that?
in the in the beginning when I was gonna go on the call, I almost didn't go on the call because I was like, it can't be this simple. This is too easy. Like this is obviously not what's going on. And I remember my mom was like, you should just hear him out. You should just hear what he got to say. But as soon as I went on the call and I heard you said something like, you can fix yourself. You don't need all this other stuff. And I was like, huh, I think I could do that. If someone would tell me what to do, I could just do it, like and that's what drew me in.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. We had it with you and your mom about a
Mhm,
year ago. And, we were talking about your situation. And I'm pretty sure I remember saying, oh, yeah, this is definitely solvable. You could probably have this all fixed within a year. You'll be
mhm.
in a different life. And it's been almost a year up to this point. So it's really cool to see your journey unfold. So many changes have happened in the last several months, and it's getting exponential. I feel like in the beginning it might be a little bit difficult, but once you start gaining traction, you start understanding what's going on and really what brain retraining is and what recalibrating your nervous system looks like and finding the proper pace of recovery that works for you. It I feel like it gets easier and easier to see the results. So when you first came on board, how impactful was it just being on calls and interacting with other people in a similar situation as you who understand the symptoms?
Well, I was on platinum, so the one-on-one calls in the beginning, or the small group calls, I should say, were like super impactful because I could really ask all the questions I wanted to ask and really like kind of get a grasp on what was going on a
Mhm.
deeper level, of course.
Yeah. And what were some of the biggest shifts you had? Like, what was the first big mind shift that you had when you were like, "Holy cow, this actually works," or "Wow, I actually saw results from whatever I did." What was that first big breakthrough for you?
Well, I started on May 28th, and I remember like July 4th. I remember like watching the fireworks go off. And for one, I was surprised I could even go to do that because like a month and a half prior, I couldn't have done that at all. So I was watching that and like they're loud and it wasn't sending any like fear signals up my body. Like I was just watching them. I did end up having an AP after that, but like during the thing, it was super vivid and I was like, oh my God, like I can do it if that makes sense. Like I see visible change in my reality, basically.
Yeah, because when you started, tell us a little bit more about what your activity was like around May 28th. Like, what were you doing? What was a typical week like for you? What did that look like?
Yeah, around May 28th, I was sleeping, I would say like 16 to 18 hours a day. And
Damn.
like that was just my standard. I really wasn't leaving the house besides going to doctor appointments. And the one thing I'll never forget is like when I would go to doctor appointments in the morning, I couldn't wake up. Sometimes I couldn't move. I would lay in my bed, and like my mom would wake me up. I would lay in bed. I'd be like almost frozen. Like I could like acknowledge her and talk a little bit, but like I was like, we got. I've canceled so many doctor appointments because I couldn't walk. So that was most of my mornings were just not being able to walk until like 3 or 4 hours after I like woke up. Like almost sleep paralysis, but like I was conscious of what was going on.
Oh yeah, I remember those days of myself going through that. It's like your brain is turned on, but your
Mhm.
physical body is just not has not woken up yet. So there's like a disconnect, and it's just like somebody turned the gravity up, and you just can't get up. Your body just feels so heavy. So you started around there on around May 28th, but
Yeah.
July 4th, that's not even 2 months later. That's about 5 weeks later. And you were able to make it to a pretty big outing and a pretty stimulating environment, and it
Mhm.
was tolerable. So that's that. That must have been super awesome. That sounds like me when I went to New York after I got out of the hospital. July 4th, I was in New York City, helicopters flying by, fireworks, tens of thousands of people, and I didn't have any symptoms. Afterwards, I did, but during the time, it was actually okay. So that was a huge breakthrough about 5 weeks in. And then what is a big mind shift that you had? Like maybe something you learned, or uh, a new strategy you used that really helped you?
More mind shifts came later in recovery. The one that really benefited me, and I think helped me the most, is realizing that like I never like cared. This sounds weird, but I never cared if I like lived or died per se. Like I didn't like think that my human life had value. So basically realizing that I had value as a person and then putting forth that into my life and saying like I'm going to treat myself differently than like I'm going to treat myself the way I treat other people who I think have value, but I'm going to give myself that value back, and that's what started to start creating more shifts.
I see. So like a lot of mental work there,
Mhm.
and emotional work. And you say that that stuff came later on in recovery.
Yeah, like I would say the first about 4 months in is when I started to realize that.
I see, I see. And tell us about the flare-ups, because a lot of people watch these videos and say, wow, how did Vincent go from not being able to function and sleep 16 hours a day to walking around and watching the fireworks? Like they don't see the work that goes into it. So tell us about the flare-ups, tell us about the APs, dealing with those as you move through these progress cycles.
There was some adjustment periods that went by simpler. It's more when I went with the flow and didn't like force myself to do things that were out of my like spectrum in the current point of recovery that I was in. But then there were some APs or adjustment periods that were like super intense, and those would really make me question everything. But I leaned on Krista a lot for like support through like really thick adjustment periods, and I know she really benefited my recovery
Mhm.
immensely.
Yeah. And for you guys watching this right now, if you don't know what an adjustment period is, it's basically a flare up. And you're going to have multiple flare ups throughout recovery on your way to thriving health. And it is completely normal for a CFS body. It's very common, it's expected actually. And the better you can navigate those flare ups or adjustment periods, the faster you will recover and the less intense they will feel. But even people who are used to dealing with them and have become good at dealing with them and overcoming them, they can still really bother you. Even 6 months down the road, you can get hit with a pretty big flare up that can start to throw your mindset off a little bit. So that's why it can be pretty helpful, being able to lean on somebody who can walk you through that and also adjust your plan. And speaking of the plans, how is it working with Krista and having a plan that can be adjusted, having some kind of structure for what to focus on? How was that experience?
Well, really having like at first my plan was I had to sit outside for like 30 minutes a day or something, and I would sit on the lawn, and that was just good to almost have like a rule book. It was like I could only go on my phone for 8 hours a day, which for me was like a big adjustment because I was on there for like since the morning I opened my eyes to the moment I went to sleep. So like I had to cut it down from like 10 or 12 hours to 8 right away. But like
Mhm.
I could see the improvements in what she recommended me to do. So I saw the value and I was able to keep doing it. And then we keep adjusting the plan. So now I'd walk a little, now I'd sit outside, but I'd also walk like hit a mailbox or whatever. And then it moved I kept moving the needle and I kept seeing the effects. So it wasn't like I was doing prior to then, I was just doing things and I was moving the needle, but I wasn't seeing any of the effects. So I didn't know why I was doing all these different things that doctors were telling me because nothing was happening.
Yeah, it's like the difference between winging it and following like a proven
Yeah.
plan or proven system that works. Now, for people watching this right now, what is some advice you could give them on how to recover? Let's just say there's somebody who is in a very similar situation as you, with very similar symptoms, very similar activity levels. What would you? What are the top two or three, I guess, golden nuggets you could share with them? And it could be simple too. It could be like, oh, respond well to symptoms, or uh, you know, stay in the gray area. Don't be so extreme with your thinking or behaviors. Like, what's something you would have liked to tell yourself back then, knowing what you know now, that you think could speed up recovery and help avoid making some mistakes?
I wanted to know when I was going to be fully recovered so bad that over what anybody would tell me, no matter what it was, I was like, I need to know the date, the time, the second. Like you need to tell me what
Yeah.
exactly. And because of that, it held me back in the beginning because instead of like planting a tree and then just watching it like sprout, I would dig it up. Like every
Yeah.
3 or 4 days, I would just dig up the tree and I'd be like, why aren't you like so but it wasn't like it was because I was so impatient with where my life was. I just couldn't trust the process, as they say in the program.
Yeah.
That was a major thing for me that I recommend that anybody in the beginning stages or even at any stage just realizes. Because even though to this day I still want to be like fully recovered or as fully recovered as I can be, I'm not running at it anymore. It's like I know it will happen now, so I'm just letting it happen when it's meant to happen.
That's a really good analogy. You plant a seed, but you keep digging it up so you don't give it time to grow. It's almost like putting a dish, let's say a pizza, in the oven, and you keep opening it like every minute, and you're just screwing up the process. I guess not really screwing up, you're just delaying it, where it could be so much easier. You'll get exponential results if you just leave it in there and let it cook, basically. So, yeah, that's a huge, huge tip for people. You guys watching this right now, really try to stay away from trying to figure out and predict how long it's going to take to recover, or timing things, or not even just recover, but how long this flare up is going to last, right? And maybe you fall into that trap too before, but it's like you start waiting for the symptoms to go away. Oh, it's been a week. Oh, it's been 2 weeks. I should be feeling better. It's been 3 weeks. The more you focus on when the symptoms are going to go away, the longer they stick around. It's like putting a magnifying glass on them.
But you're still waiting for them to be done because you're still a human having a human experience. But it's like it's different. You slowly let the ties go a little bit, and you're like, if they don't get done today or tomorrow, they will get done eventually. Because you see it work like 100 times, and then you're like, it's gonna work again. Why wouldn't it work this time? It worked 100 other times, kind of thing.
Exactly. You learn to trust the process. And that's something I told myself a lot. I would tell myself, wait, okay, so I have these symptoms right now. I'm feeling like they're never going to go away. But in the past, have I experienced this before where I had a flare up and then it got better afterwards? I was like, yes, I've had that experience hundreds of times. So, of course, it's going to go away. It just feels like it isn't right now. So, that's a huge tip for people. Any other golden nuggets that you have?
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday actually. A lot of this isn't necessarily logical. Like it's logical in the way they explain it to us, but to us in the state that we're in, it's not exactly a logical thing. But I don't remember, but I assume when I was a baby and I learned to walk for the first time, that to me probably wasn't logical either. But it was something I knew I could do. I like you can walk. I know I could walk. Everyone just kind of, you've had this feeling, you're like, I can do this. And if you have that feeling and you're watching this video right now and you're like, I can do this, it's the same I can walk or I can eat or I can swallow or I can breathe or my heart can beat. It's all the same just things that we know deep down that we can do. And as long as you follow that feeling like takes you all the way, pretty much. Or at least it did for me.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, I'm picturing a child walking for the first time. It's like their body, it has the ability to do it. It just needs to
Mhm.
be kind of trained up. It needs to get those pathways going, and that's the reason why so many people recover from this stuff. It's because our brains and nervous systems have that ability to do it. We just don't know how to access it. we don't have those pathways fully carved out yet. So we have to manually go in there and do that. And just like a kid walking, it's not going to happen the first time. A kid will fall down, he'll get back up, he'll keep going. Very similar with recovery. So yeah, that is a huge tip. You got any other tips for us? A third one? Any golden nuggets?
Um, that those are my main tips.
Yeah. I think probably the most basic golden rule, and I say this in almost every video, it's, your success in recovery is determined by how well you respond to symptoms. And it just keeps it really simple too, because if you do that one thing, it it kind of helps everything else fall into place. Because actually it's not just responding well to the symptoms, it's responding well to the emotions and the thoughts behind the symptoms. And even intrusive thoughts and anxiety and having that doubt, all of these negative things, I saw those as symptoms. So I would pretty much just throw it under the same umbrella and just go like, even those thoughts, even those worries, that's just the nervous system. And that really helped. So for you, what would you say is different now than uh, 10 months ago physically? Let's start with physically, then we'll go over to the mentally and emotionally part. But physically, what can you do now that you couldn't do last May, 10 months ago?
I can safely wake up in the morning and just do things without thinking about it. Like if I want to cook breakfast, I can just walk and cook breakfast. Or if I want to see the sunrise, I can like get out of my apartment and go see the sunrise. I can just do the simple things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. I just consciously can do them now. And I always remember, I'm like, at one point I couldn't do this. So like that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. And you're going on walks and stuff. You're living on your own now, right? Because,
Yeah.
tell us about that. You had to move home because you needed help, right? Because you couldn't function on your own.
I had to move home, and I'll never forget that period of time. I was so like weak. The doctors were giving me like prescription stimulants, so I could like, and which weren't working either, but so I could like pack up my apartment and like get home, like fly home. And like then 5.5 months later, I was able to move out. So like
Yeah.
that still is insane to me. Even like saying that out loud, like that's just like that's by all medical standard should be impossible. But you guys make it possible. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild to think, right? You're sleeping 16 hours a day, can't function. Mom is bringing you to these doctor's appointments, and you're really just, how I felt was I'm just here taking up space. I'm just breathing air, eating food, but I'm really
Mm.
doing nothing. And to go from that to being like a functioning member of society, it's a really good feeling. So you were able to get independent after about 5 months of having to move back home. And tell us about your walks and stuff and working out. You're working out now, right? Here and there.
Just here and there. I don't focus on working out the way I did prior to joining the program. When I joined the program, before joining the program, I'd like work out, I would say almost every day. It was way too much and it was unbalanced. But now I like count more like physical movement as exercise, like the walks
Yeah.
and just stretching and eating healthier, and like I kind of umbrella all of it together. If I feel like I want to lift weights someday, I will. Or if there's a random like I wake up, I'm like today's the day I'm gonna do that, I will. But like I don't hold myself to such high like physical standards as I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the difference between working out just to look good and
Yeah.
working out or exercise just to feel good. And once I recovered and I got back into the world, it was more focusing on I just want to do what makes me feel good. Like even
Mm.
just a walk, I got more satisfaction out of a simple walk than, you know, just bench pressing in the gym like I did years and years ago. Cause I think at the end of the day, that's really what health is. It's how you feel, not so much how you look. Right. So I became happier doing simpler things. It wasn't so extreme. Right. So physically, obviously you're a lot better now. You're doing a lot bigger things. How about cognitively? Like how much are you able to use your brain now versus about a year ago?
I can think about thoughts deeply now. And a year ago, I couldn't think about thoughts at all. Like I couldn't like even know what I was saying a year ago. Like I would say something and someone would like take a second for my brain to like realize I said the thing I said. Or I'd be lost in conversations. And my vocabulary has got a lot bigger since the beginning. Yeah, I just started
Mhm.
remembering the words I was taught in high school. Things that for years, I just couldn't say. You basically, your vocabulary gets smaller and smaller. So now you're using like three-letter words all the time because that's all your brain can handle at that point.
Yeah, yeah, the speech is a huge one. That's how you know you got some pretty serious brain fog. Because I remember I would slur my words. I'd be speaking and having a conversation, but I'd just completely forget what the conversation is about. It's like
So, yeah,
you talk to somebody, they say a sentence, you respond, they say a sentence, and then you go and try to say something, and you're like, wait, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What are we even talking about? Like, what's the topic? It's just,
yeah,
you have like a 10-second span of memory. That's what it feels like. And your brain just kind of, it has trouble doing that. How about like screen time? Because actually, you were okay with screens, right? Because you were on your phone quite a bit, even when you were stuck in the bed.
yeah. I was not okay with screens from the beginning, but I was on them so much that I didn't have any physical capacity to do anything. So now I have a much more healthy relationship with screens, and the overall use of my phone is way down from the beginning. Because when you're not distracting yourself from how terrible your life is, you actually live your life, which is what I
Mhm.
like. I realized that the other day. I was like, I have nothing to be this. I don't watch movies or TV way as much as I used to because I'm not running from anything. I'm just like I can sit in pure silence for an hour and I'm not running. So like if you're running from something, it'll always catch you because you can't outrun your own mind. I believe me, we probably both tried to do that. But you eventually get to the point when you're not running from anything. So you're just more sitting in silence and not as much focused on like TikTok or Instagram, those kind of things.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. You can't outrun your own mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually it's going to catch you. So at some point you have to turn and face it. And if there are things that need to be improved, then you got to go in there and do the work, right? You can only run for so long. And that's a huge part of this recovering from CFS stuff. It's not just adding on more walking minutes and doing a little bit more every other week. There's a lot of internal work that needs to be done. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, or not miss out on, but they fail to see that the importance of that mindset and working on your brain and the way it's functioning, because that's the whole driver of this thing in the first place. But going on to the third area of, the third bucket of focus that we look at emotionally. So emotionally, how would you say you are now compared to about a year ago? Just overall emotional resilience, responding well to symptoms or stressors, just life in general. How has that changed?
Overall, it's a lot more solid. And things can happen, and I can still get triggered about different things, just things in like daily life stretches, but it's different now. I almost like can immediately like I have a perfect example. Yesterday I was on a walk and like somebody almost like hit me. And for a moment I was like, what the but I caught myself before I would go down a pathway I didn't want to go down. And I was like, no, he's just maybe he had a crisis. I don't know what he was doing. And I immediately like put myself in their shoes instead of like letting it destroy my day. And I thought about it for about 3 more seconds, and then I went home and forgot all about it until now. But like, that's what I realized I could do. Back in the day, that would have been the thing. I would have called my mom. I would have called my sister. Be like,
Mhm.
there was a guy and he almost hit me. It would have ruined my month pretty much. So like now, it just things just don't matter as much. Like even like little things that like you do if you drop food on the floor or you break a glass or something, they're not end of the world things like they used to be for you. You don't feel like you're
Yeah.
gonna punch a wall or something. You just like you're like, oh, that sucks, and then you just clean it up and you move on with your life. So it makes things a lot more easy to handle and to respond well to, basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's so important too. It's I think it's a very important life skill
Mm.
of it, just responding well to symptoms and being in control of your emotions. Going through life, there's going to be a lot of things that happen that we can't predict. And I think that the thing that helped me and probably helped you is realizing what you can and can't control.
Mm.
Like you're walking, some dude almost hits you. It's like, okay, well, are we going to go back in time and take control of his steering wheel and make him swerve the other way? Like we can't do
Yeah.
that. Or like dropping a glass on the ground, it breaks. Okay, well, it's broken. We no amount of worrying is going to put those pieces back together. It's just, maybe next time handle it a different way in terms of the glass. Like there's only so much you can do. And I think once you realize that, you start to see the world through a different lens and you're just able to enjoy things a lot more versus
Mhm.
having things be like a black stain on the day, you know, because that used to be the way I saw it. It's like I wake up blank slate every day, white shirt. And the moment something bad happens, it's like
Mhm.
a black stain on that shirt. And the whole day is, kind of ruined, but it's just these small things had a huge impact before. I would overthink things, but now it's like, oh, okay, can I control it? No. Okay, then who cares? Like, what am I going to do? I don't have a time machine. So that's helped me quite a bit. So emotionally, you're just a lot more resilient and in control. You don't have like this knee jerk reaction anymore, right?
And it was realizing that, like you mentioned, like worrying doesn't actually do anything for anyone, for you and or anybody you're worrying about. Like worrying is just what we do is so we can feel better about the situation, but it doesn't hold any actual value. So whether you worry or not, it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it worse. It doesn't. I mean, it makes it worse for you mentally, but it doesn't make the actual situation worse or better. So it's not. So if
Hmm.
you just can stop doing that, like, once you get to the point where you realize it's not helpful, you'll it'll hit you. You'll be like, it never helped me in the begin to begin with. It just made me more hyper fixated on things I couldn't control, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a big difference between worrying and brainstorming for solutions.
Yeah.
And throughout your time, working with a team, you've probably seen that we're really focused on a solution. And it's normal for problems to come up, for curveballs to happen, where people come to us and say, hey, this is happening. I'm dealing with this. It's like, okay, cool. Let's figure out a solution. What's the best plan of action forward? So I think maybe there is a little bit of worrying there, but at some point it just crosses over to where it's not productive. So, being solution focused, it's like, okay, can we fix this thing? We can't. Okay, then no point. Can we fix this thing? Oh, yeah, we might be able to. Okay, so what's the solution? So I'm always thinking immediately, okay, what's the solution? What's the solution? How are we going to fix this or mitigate it? And that's just helped so much with life. And I think it's really interesting. This is a skill that you become really good at when you're responding well to symptoms, right? Because at first, how was it for you in the beginning, just responding well to symptoms? Because I'm guessing we started there, and then after that, we really got deep into the emotional stuff. But like, was it easy for you? Did you pick up with it naturally, or was it a struggle in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was really hard for me to I'd never done it before at any point in my life. Which I realized later on was the catalyst to everything. But it was really hard for me to pick up on it. But I realized that when I didn't do it, I got worse. When I didn't respond well, I got worse.
Yeah.
And then when I responded well, I got better. So, like a mouse chasing a piece of cheese, I realized this is what I could control. So it made me realize, well, I want to get better, so I can't worry. So it just I had two options, so I picked the one that would give me the best probability to be successful, basically.
Yeah. It became a pretty easy decision once you realize that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
That was like me. And I think for a lot of people watching that, that's how you can make recovery very, very simple, right? Just focus on responding well to symptoms and anything that comes, just respond well. You have two options: don't respond well and respond well. If you don't respond
Mm.
well, the symptoms stick around longer. It takes longer to recover. If you do respond well, the symptoms go away faster. So to me, there was only two options, only two paths. Whenever I flared up, whenever I was having doubts about recovery, uh, it was a simple, it was a simple choice I had to make, and it made that choice really, really easy to decide. Okay, just respond well, even if it doesn't look pretty. Respond the best you can. So for you now, with all this freedom that you have in your body and your mind, what are some things you're looking forward to this year? Any big goals, any big plans, bucket list items you want to do?
To be honest, a lot of the stuff I'm doing is just more simple now. It's being presently aware and looking at flowers or looking at trees or just like being in nature and doing things more presently. But as for like bigger goals, I am seeing a conference in September in California, bit more expanding on this kind of stuff with Dr. DeMartini, if you're familiar
I was
with
gonna
him.
say
I'm sure you
breakthrough
are.
breakthrough
Yeah,
experience, right?
but there's that trip coming up. Actually, today I'm getting on a train in a couple hours and going to Savannah from Charleston for
Wow.
a little week a little couple day getaway. And even saying that alone, it sounds crazy to me because having this conversation with you, like we have, I normally I'd be done. Now I know that we're gonna finish this thing and then I'm gonna get ready and I'm gonna go to Savannah. And like to even think I can do all those steps in one day and get on a train and handle those all that stuff is crazy. Like I to me it's not even a thought. Like 6 months ago I would have been like, so I gotta get there at this time and I would have planned everything out, but now I don't have to because I know I can handle it.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge sign that you now have a lot more trust in your body
Yeah.
that it will be able to handle it. And I think that's what makes us so anxious in the beginning is we don't trust our body just
Mm,
based on our previous experiences. Like you stand up too fast, boom, you get hit with symptoms. You walk a little bit too far, you get hit with symptoms. So you start to really lose trust with your body. You feel like it's
mm,
just going to betray you, right?
constantly.
It's going to throw you some kind of curveball and punish you if you step out of line. So you kind of feel like a hostage in your own body. But once you start recalibrating your nervous system, you start getting more and more capacity, you do start to build trust and you realize that it wasn't punishing you, it was just doing what it thought was best at the time. So you you have a different kind of relationship with your body at that point, you know. So you're going to Savannah, very very exciting. You appreciate the simple things now. What would you say to somebody who right now watching this is maybe in your shoes where you were about a year ago and they're wondering, is it even possible to recover? Vincent, I see your story and really cool what you've done, but how do I get that hope back? You know, because I'm feeling I'm feeling like recovery might not even be possible for me. You know, what kind of words of inspiration do you want to share with them?
I remember where I was about 10 months ago. And I thought my life was over. Like I thought there was no way that I could ever get back to like a place like I am today. And I had tried everything. And I was like, if I can just try one more thing, something I truly believe in, after hearing somebody with similar stories to me, I was like, maybe this will be the thing. And what really did it for me was as bad as it sounds to say, your life can't get any worse in this situation. So that's what pulled me in. I was like, I'm hearing someone with similar stories to me, and I'm like hearing the journey that I have gone through to get to this point from somebody else, and no one had ever said that to me up to this point. If they're having a similar life story to me, there must be a part of our journeys that are similar to some degree, and if they got better, that means that I can get better too, because we're all the same. Like the human experience is all connected. Like we're all connected to each other to some degree. Our up through evolution and through biology. So if someone can do it, that means I can do it too. And then the other thing is, if you're on this call right now, part of you believes that you can do it. Because you wouldn't watch, this is going to be like a 45, you wouldn't watch 45 minutes of a call with two random strangers on YouTube if like you didn't believe that you could potentially recover. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. And if I know you because I know me, we are type A people. We don't waste our time. We're not wasting our time watching things that we don't think are going to help us. And then third, and but last but not least, if you found this video after everything that you have found, after all the garbage that you see on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and if you found this video into your algorithm after everything you could have searched, didn't search, could have found, didn't find, there's something special about that because you found it. You found something that most people will never find. And I think that is risk enough for you to take the leap, basically.
You know, yeah. Powerful words, man. Really powerful words. And it's so true. You know, this isn't a random video that someone would just watch 45 minutes into if they really weren't trying their best to recover. And, just like you finding us, we're usually the last stop for people.
Mm,
We're usually like the last thing they want to try because they've tried so many things in the past. So, guys, if you're watching this right now and you've tried uh, medications, supplements, naturopaths, doctors, you've been to the ER, you've been on this roller coaster for years and years, right? If that's you and you're in that mindset now of, okay, nothing works, I've tried it all. Well, maybe you haven't, because so many other people thought that. I mean, Vincent thought that. I thought that.
mm,
There's all these things online that that say they could help us when we try and it doesn't work. So that's when we start to lose hope and start to really question, if all these other 30 things didn't work, what's going to make this next thing work? And to you, I say, dive into more videos like this. Look at the content. If any of this resonates with you at all, it's worth having a conversation to see if the system will even work for you. Maybe it might not. Maybe there's another solution out there for you, but maybe it is exactly what you're looking for. Maybe it is the personalization, the plans, having someone you can lean on, having a specific structure for your recovery, for your situation. That might be the thing you need. So, my last question for you, Vincent,
mm.
uh, so far, would you say it's been a good investment?
Been a very good investment. I would pay for this program 1,000 more times in 1,000 more lifetimes if I knew it was going to bring me to this point.
Powerful. Well, is there anything else you want to share with people watching this right now? You shared a lot of really good golden nuggets here. And I mean, from our first conversation like 10 months ago, you've come such a long way, man. We're so proud of you and how far you've come, even just the personal development stuff, because now you're getting into that world deeper and deeper.
Mm,
Krista mentioned, I did breakthrough experience again in Hawaii. She was like, "Oh, you might run into Vincent there. He's thinking of going to it." But
yeah.
we didn't end up linking up there. But I'm excited for you in the next parts of your journey. But anything else you want to share with these folks?
One of the biggest things for me coming out of this experience is realizing this is like the best self-help course that you could that's on the market. Coming from someone who's tried all the self-help things I could get my hands on as I was going through this journey, and even prior to having CFS, improving my life. And I think that's a key for like a lot of people in this program. We try to improve our lives and maximize our lives in every area. And this was it. I don't think I need another self-help program for the rest of my life. If I can add to this with different things, if I want to, like the Dr. DiMartini thing, but like it's not necessary. Like I have self-improved myself to such a degree now that like I know I'm good. I don't need to like buy so and so's course or something to get to the point to get a Lamborghini. Like I don't need to do that because I'm so like good within myself, which is something I never had before. So
Yeah,
that's my piece on that.
that's awesome, man. We unlocked the potential that was within
Yeah.
you this whole time. And actually, one more question. What does your mom think about all of this? Because I remember our first conversation with her, and she was like, can you help my son? She's seen the growth over the last year. What's it like for her, or what do you think it's like for her, seeing you over the past year?
I think she's in shock almost because I have said things over the past couple months that I have never said in my entire life. The information that I access in my mind, that stuff I've learned in school, stuff I've learned in other areas, that I I was never this smart and or wise or whatever you want to say in any part of my life until now. So she's like seeing me as a whole new person almost. I think that's the best way to sum it up.
That is epic. So 2.0 Vincent is working his way through life. And I know your sister right now is going through the program and she's getting better. We're gonna be getting her to thriving health as well, Kayla. But yeah, it's been an awesome chat with you. Really inspiring stuff, and very wise for a young guy, 25 years old, and you've gone through this chapter of your life. But I think the other thing too is you learn so many things about yourself, just about life in general, going through this. And I feel like I had 20 or 30 years of experience and having to overcome hardships jam packed into
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 years. So it's a really interesting thing because once you come out the other side of this and start getting better, you realize, wow, I'm actually kind of grateful this happened because I learned all of these things. I still have so much life ahead of me to live, and I can apply these principles that I learned. So really, really
Yeah,
exciting stuff. Go ahead.
at this point, it's not as much like before recovery. I was always like, what can I do? Like with the like to earn a living. Like I should work here, I should work there. But now I have the skills that was implemented in me to how to respond to stress, which is in everything. So it's now it's more like, what do I want to do? I can do
Exactly.
anything now. I can look. I know I can learn to like sew a kite together if I really want to. I have the skills to do name it, I can figure out how to do it. I can find the strategy, I can find the way to put it together. And that was never on the table for me prior to now. But you almost feel like a new sense of like not invincibility per se, but like you feel like you're able to like conquer anything,
Yeah,
basically.
it's like total freedom,
Yeah.
and freedom of your mind. That's the biggest thing. Freedom of your mind that the world is your oyster now. There's so
Mm,
many things you can do, so many rabbit holes you can go down, but the cool thing is the choice is yours.
yeah.
You can choose what that path looks like. So you're literally the artist, the painter of this canvas of life. Whereas before, maybe you thought you only had access to the color blue or something and one paintbrush. Now you got access to all these tools. You can really design your life. And that's how I live now. And it's so much better than the previous Miguel, who was kind of running himself into the ground. So it's been an amazing chat, Vincent. This has been an awesome hour, actually. I feel like we could talk for hours after this. Maybe one of these days I'll run into you at a DiMartini thing.
Oh,
It'll be
that'd be
really
so
cool.
cool.
Yeah. But for you guys watching this right now, if you're somebody who's dealing with mysterious, debilitating symptoms, if you've been diagnosed with CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia, and the doctors just can't seem to figure out what's going on or figure out a solution, I would highly suggest click the link down below and learn more about our recovery system and see if it's even a good fit for you. And if it is, we'd love to have a conversation and see if we could help you get your life back, just like we did for Vincent and so many other thrivers in the program. But if there's one thing to take away from this, it's just to know that recovery is possible and you can get your life back. No matter how deep in the hole you are, there's so many people who have been in a similar situation as you and turned their lives around and actually surpassed their previous quality of life. So don't listen to people who say you can't recover, it's not possible. It is possible. You can get your life back as long as you've had all the tests and scans ruled out from the doctors, and they don't have solutions for you. That's where we come in. So if you did want some extra help, click the link down below. We're here for you. And always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. See you guys in the next video. Vincent, thank you so much.
Would say that CFS recovery is absolutely the real deal.
I actually felt like somebody had an answer, like somebody explained what was going on, and it all clicked.